I remember sitting in a small coffee shop about 3 years ago. I had my Italian notebook open, a fresh cup of coffee, and I felt nothing. I knew how to order the coffee. I knew how to talk about my job, but when the person next to me started talking about their childhood or a movie they liked, I just froze. I felt like I was standing in front of a giant wall. I wasn't getting worse, but I definitely wasn't getting better. I was just stuck.
I know that feeling so well. It's like being in the middle of a long walk. You started with so much energy. You've come a long way, but suddenly the road looks exactly the same for miles. You look at your books and think, I already know this, but then you try to speak and you feel like you're failing.
Exactly. It's a very quiet kind of frustration. Welcome to Pod Studio. I'm Alex.
And I'm Emma. Today we're talking about that specific feeling. In the world of learning, we call it a plateau. A plateau is a flat area of land, like a high plain. In language learning, it means you stop seeing progress. You aren't going up anymore, you're just flat.
It's a big reason why people stop learning. They think they've reached their limit. But today, we want to look at why this happens and how to find a new path forward. It's not about working harder, it's about working differently.
It's a part of daily life for almost every learner. So if you feel this way, take a deep breath, relax, and just listen to our voices.
Before we start, if you want more fun English podcasts like this, hit the subscribe button right now and join our English learning family.
It really helps us grow.
So, Emma, let's go back to that wall or the plateau. When did you first feel that when you were learning?
It was during my second year of learning French. At the beginning, everything was exciting. Every day I learned a new word, it felt like a victory. Oh, I know how to say apple. I know how to say red. That's the honeymoon phase. You know, like when a relationship is new and everything is perfect.
Right. Everything is easy because everything is new.
But then you reach the intermediate level. You can survive. You can go to a restaurant. You can ask for directions. And suddenly the big jumps stop. You learn a new word like nevertheless, and you realize you don't really use it. You start to feel like you're repeating the same 500 words every single day.
I call that the safety zone. We stay with the words we know because they're safe, but the safety zone becomes a cage. I remember my friend Marco. He has been at the same level of English for 5 years. He's good. He can work, he can talk, but he says the same things in the same way. He's comfortable, but he's also a little bit bored.
Boredom is a big signal. If you are bored with your English, you are probably on a plateau. But there's a tension there, isn't there, between being comfortable and being brave?
Yes, I think the tension is between getting it right and expressing yourself. When we are beginners, we just want to be understood. If I say, water please, and I get water, I win. But at the intermediate level, I want to say how I want the water, or why I'm thirsty, or talk about the weather while I drink it.
And that's where the guilt comes in. Do you ever feel guilty when you don't study your grammar books?
All the time. I see my grammar book on the shelf and I feel like it's judging me. It's saying, Alex, why aren't you learning the third conditional?
But maybe the grammar book is the problem. Sometimes to break the plateau, you have to put the book away. You need real-life input.
That's a good point. I used to watch the news in Italian. It was so difficult and honestly a bit miserable. I didn't care about the politics of a city I didn't live in. I was forcing myself. In other words, I was doing it because I thought I should, not because I wanted to.
In other words is a great phrase there. It means you're saying the same thing, but in a simpler way. You were forcing yourself, and when we force things, our brains often shut down. They stop absorbing the language. To absorb means to take something in, like a sponge takes in water.
My brain was definitely a very dry sponge back then.
So what changed? How did you move again?
I stopped trying to be a perfect student and started being a human. I found a podcast about cooking. I love cooking. It wasn't English for students. It was just people talking about pasta. I didn't understand every word. At first, I only understood about 40%, but I was interested.
That's the key. Interest. But it's scary, isn't it, to listen to something where you don't understand 60%?
It's very scary. It feels like you're drowning. But after a week, 40% became 50%. I started to pick up words. When we say pick up a word, we mean learning it naturally by hearing it, not by looking it up in a dictionary.
I like that. Pick up. Like you're picking up a coin from the ground. It's a gift.
Exactly. For example, the cook kept saying mescalade. He said it every time he was at the stove. He didn't explain it, but I saw him moving the spoon in the pot. So I knew mescalade means to stir. I didn't study it, I lived it.
I had a similar experience with a TV show. It was a silly reality show. People were arguing and talking fast. At first, it just sounded like noise, but I started to notice how they said actually or to be honest. They used these fillers.
Oh, fillers are so important for intermediate learners. Fillers are words that don't have a big meaning, but they give you time to think, like well, so, or you know.
People usually say these when they're nervous or trying to find the right word. For me, using fillers made me feel more fluent.
Fluent. That's a word that scares people. They think fluent means perfect, like a robot.
I disagree. I think being fluent just means the flow is there, like a river. A river has rocks and branches, but the water keeps moving. It doesn't stop for 5 minutes because it forgot a word.
That's a beautiful way to put it. But Emma, let's be honest. Sometimes you just feel tired. You've been studying for months, you're on the plateau, and you just want to quit. I felt that last month with my Spanish. I just didn't want to open the app.
That's the rest versus guilt tension we mentioned. We feel like if we aren't grinding, working really hard every single day, we're losing our progress.
Grinding. That sounds painful, like metal rubbing against metal.
It is, and learning shouldn't feel like grinding metal. If you're exhausted, your brain won't learn. Sometimes the best way to break a plateau is to take a break for 3 days. Go for a walk, listen to music in your own language, let your brain marinate.
Marinate, like meat in a sauce before you cook it.
Yes, when you marinate something, you let it sit so the flavors go deep inside. Your brain needs time to let the English you learned go deep into your long-term memory.
I think I've been marinating for too long then. But I see what you mean. There is this pressure to be productive all the time. But maybe productivity in a language is just enjoying it?
I think so. But there is another problem. The intermediate plateau often happens because we are afraid of making mistakes. When we are beginners, we know we are bad. We expect to make mistakes. It's almost funny. But when you are intermediate, you feel like you should be better.
Right. You feel embarrassed. You think, I've been studying for 2 years. I shouldn't say he go instead of he goes.
Exactly. And that fear makes us speak less. And if we speak less, we stay on the plateau.
I had a student once who was so afraid of mistakes that he would write his sentences on a piece of paper before speaking them in class. It was very slow. He was trying to be accurate. Accuracy is about being correct, like hitting the center of a target.
Accuracy is good for an exam, but it's a wall for a conversation.
I told him, imagine you were playing a game of catch. If you spend 10 minutes looking at the ball before you throw it, the game is over. Nobody wants to play. Just throw the ball. If it falls, it falls.
I love that. Just throw the ball. You can hear this advice a lot in sports, but it works for life too. It means take action without worrying too much.
But let's look at the other side. Some people say, don't worry about grammar at all. Just talk. I don't know if I agree with that completely. If you only talk and never look at your mistakes, you might start repeating the same errors forever.
That's a fair point. We call those fossilized mistakes, like a fossil in a rock. The mistake becomes a part of your permanent speech.
Fossilized. That sounds very permanent. So how do we find the balance? We don't want to be grinding grammar all day, but we don't want to have fossilized mistakes.
I think it's about noticing. You don't have to study a rule for an hour, just notice. For example, when you listen to this podcast, maybe you notice that Alex said, I've been studying, instead of I am studying. You don't need to open a book. You just think, oh, that's interesting. He used that form for a long period of time.
So noticing is like being a detective.
Exactly. You are a language detective. You're looking for clues.
I like that. It makes it a game. Instead of, I'm a bad student who forgot the rule, it's, I'm a detective who found a new clue about how English works.
And it changes your energy. Instead of feeling heavy and guilty, you feel curious. Curiosity is the plateau killer. If you are curious, you keep moving.
Let's talk about another practical tip. Something I did when I was stuck in Italian. I started recording myself on my phone, just 1 minute a day.
Oh, I hate the sound of my own voice. Most people do.
Me too. It was terrible at first. I sounded so slow. But I did it every day for a month. I would talk about what I ate or a dream I had. Then after a month, I listened to the first recording.
And?
I realized I was better than I thought. When we're in the plateau, we can't see our progress. But when you look back at a recording from 4 weeks ago, you see it. You notice that your flow is a bit better, or you used a word like actually correctly.
That's a great way to track your progress. To track means to follow the path of something, like following footprints in the snow.
I gave me the proof I needed. My brain was telling me, you aren't learning. But the recording said, yes, you are.
It's funny how our brains lie to us. They like to focus on what we don't know. I don't know the word for that specific type of bird. So what? You know the word for bird.
True. We're very hard on ourselves. We focus on the gap, the space between where we are and where we want to be.
But the gap is always there, even for native speakers. I learn new English words every week. Language is infinite.
Infinite. That's a big word. It means it never ends.
Yes, and if it never ends, there is no finish line. So why are we rushing? Why are we stressed?
That's a deep thought, Emma. If there is no finish line, the goal isn't to finish English. The goal is just to live in it.
Exactly. Think about a hobby, like playing the guitar or gardening. You don't finish gardening, you just enjoy the flowers. You enjoy the process.
I think that's the secret to breaking the plateau. Stop looking at the top of the mountain and just look at your feet. Enjoy the step you're taking right now.
But sometimes the steps feel very heavy, especially when you're busy. Most of our listeners have jobs, families, and lives. They don't have 4 hours a day to be a detective.
That's true. And I think that's another reason people get stuck. They have an all or nothing mindset. If I can't study for an hour, I won't study.
All or nothing. That's a dangerous way to think.
It is, because life is rarely all. Life is usually a little bit. 5 minutes of a podcast while you're brushing your teeth. 2 minutes reading a news headline in English while you wait for the bus.
You hear people say every little bit helps all the time. At work or when saving money. It's the same for language. Those 5 minutes are like drops of water. 1 drop is nothing, but 1,000 drops make a pool.
I had a student once who was a very busy mother. She felt so guilty because she couldn't join a long evening class. I told her, just talk to your baby in English for 10 minutes a day.
Did she do it?
She did. The baby didn't care about grammar. The baby just liked her voice. And because she was talking to a baby, she used simple, clear English. She felt confident. She broke her plateau because she found a low-pressure way to speak.
Low pressure. That's so important. We create so much pressure for ourselves. We think we have to talk about philosophy or business. But talking to a baby or a dog or even yourself in the mirror, it removes the fear.
I talk to my cat in Spanish. He's very good at listening. He never corrects my verbs.
See? That's perfect. It keeps the muscles warm.
You know, Emma, we've talked a lot about listening and speaking, but what about reading? I find that many intermediate learners get stuck because they try to read books that are too hard. They try to read Harry Potter or the New York Times, and they have to look up every second word.
Oh, I've done that. It's exhausting. After 10 minutes, you have a headache and you've only read half a page.
Exactly. In other words, the level is too high, so the pleasure is gone.
There's a term for this, extensive reading. It sounds like a big academic word, but it just means reading things that are easy for you. Things where you know 95% of the words.
95%? That sounds very high.
It is, but that's the point. If you know 95%, you can guess the other 5% from the story. You don't need a dictionary. You can just flow.
So if you are an intermediate learner, maybe you should read graded readers, books written specifically for your level, or even children's stories.
Absolutely. There's no shame in reading a book for a 10-year-old if it helps you enjoy the language. I read a comic book in French last year. It was great. The pictures helped me understand the action. It didn't feel like studying, it felt like reading.
It didn't feel like studying. I think that should be our motto. A motto is a short sentence that expresses a goal or a belief.
English shouldn't feel like studying. I like that. It should feel like a part of who you are.
But there is still that tension we talked about earlier, silence versus noise. Sometimes our lives are so noisy. We have notifications, social media, work emails. We try to learn English in the middle of all that noise.
And sometimes the plateau is just a sign that your brain is tired of the noise. It needs some quiet learning.
What do you mean by quiet learning?
I mean just sitting and listening. No exercises, no writing, no trying to memorize. Just letting the language wash over you. Like sitting in the rain. You don't try to get wet, you just get wet.
That's what we want for our listeners right now, isn't it? Just to let our conversation wash over them.
Exactly. You don't need to understand every single word we are saying. If you understand the mood, if you understand the spirit of the conversation, you are learning.
It's a shift in perspective. A shift is a small change in position or direction. Instead of looking at English as a mountain to climb, look at it as a forest to explore.
And in a forest, you don't always have to move forward. You can stop. You can look at a tree. You can sit on a rock.
I think that's a very calm way to look at the plateau. The plateau isn't a failure. It's just a flat part of the forest where you can rest before you find the next path.
And the path will appear. It always does. You just have to keep your eyes open and stay curious.
I remember when I finally broke my Italian plateau. It wasn't because of a big test. It was because I was at a party and someone told a joke, and without thinking, I laughed.
That's the best feeling.
It was. I didn't translate the joke in my head. I didn't analyze the grammar. I just got it. In that moment, I realized I wasn't on the plateau anymore. I had moved.
I just got it is another great phrase. It means I understood it. Usually we use it for jokes or complex ideas.
It was such a small moment, but it changed everything. It gave me the confidence to keep going.
So to our listeners who are feeling stuck right now, it's okay. You are not failing. You are just marinating. You are a detective looking for clues. You are a gardener waiting for the flowers to grow.
Don't let the guilt win. If you don't want to study grammar today, don't. Listen to a song, watch a video about cats, talk to your dog.
Just keep the connection alive. That's all that matters. As long as you don't walk away from the forest, you are still an explorer.
I think we should leave it there for today. It's been a very reflective conversation.
Reflective. That means thinking deeply and quietly about something, like looking at your reflection in a lake.
I hope our listeners feel a little bit lighter now. The plateau isn't a wall, it's just a place to catch your breath.
Thank you for listening to Pod Studio today. It's always a pleasure to spend this time with you.
We'll be back soon with more conversations. Until then, just relax and let the English stay with you.
Take care of yourselves.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.